The old graveyard lay shrouded in an unnatural fog. It was the kind of fog that seemed to cling to everything, seeping into clothes and chilling you to the bone. The air hung heavy with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. Silence reigned, broken only by the occasional rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth. It was a place most people avoided, especially after dark. Elias, however, found himself drawn to the graveyard's eerie silence. He wasn't sure what compelled him. Perhaps it was the whispered stories he'd heard as a child, tales of restless spirits and things that went bump in the night. Or maybe it was simply the thrill of the unknown, the allure of a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Tonight, the mystery presented itself as a faint whisper barely audible above the rustling leaves. It seemed to emanate from the heart of the graveyard, beckoning him deeper into the fog. Elias hesitated, a shiver running down his spine. He could turn back, pretend he hadn't heard a thing, but curiosity, like a moth drawn to a flickering flame, urged him forward. Taking a deep breath, Elias stepped through the crumbling stone archway that marked the entrance to the graveyard. The fog seemed to close in around him, swallowing the world beyond. He was alone, or so he thought, with only the whispers of the dead for company. The path was treacherous, littered with broken headstones and gnarled roots that snaked out from the earth like grasping claws. Elias stumbled along, his heart pounding in his chest. The whisper came again, a little louder this time, but the fog seemed to muffle the sound, making it impossible to pinpoint its source. Just a bird, Elias muttered to himself, trying to rationalize the sound. But deep down, he knew it was something more. There was an unsettling quality to the whisper, a faint echo of sorrow and despair that sent chills down his spine. As he ventured deeper into the graveyard, the fog grew thicker, swirling around him like ghostly apparitions. The air grew colder, biting at any exposed skin. Elias pulled his jacket tighter around himself, wishing he had worn something warmer. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end as he felt a presence behind him. He spun around, his breath catching in his throat, but there was nothing there, just the fog, swirling and shifting, playing tricks on his mind. "Hello," Elias called out, his voice trembling slightly. The only response was the mournful sigh of the wind as it whistled through the trees. He chided himself for being foolish. He was letting his imagination run wild. There was no one there. It was just the fog and the wind and the whispers of his own fear. As he pressed on, the fog seemed to take on a life of its own. It swirled and eddied around him, obscuring the path and making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. It felt almost sentient, like it was toying with him, herding him deeper into the heart of the graveyard. The whisper came again, closer now, and Elias swore he could hear words this time. A name, perhaps? He couldn't be sure. The fog seemed to distort the sound, making it impossible to decipher. He quickened his pace, driven by a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity. What was he doing here? Why did he keep going? He knew he should turn back, but something kept him moving forward, something he couldn't quite explain. The path took an unexpected turn, leading him towards a particularly ancient section of the graveyard. The headstones here were weathered and cracked, their inscriptions worn away by the relentless passage of time. The fog hung heavy in this part of the graveyard, as if reluctant to reveal its secrets. And then he heard it again, the whisper, clearer this time, a name uttered on the wind. "Thomas," it hissed. Thomas Blackwood. Elias froze, his blood turning to ice. He knew that name. It was etched on the worn headstone directly in front of him. He stared at the inscription, a strange sense of dread washing over him. It was one thing to hear whispers in the dark, another entirely to have them acknowledge you, to speak directly to your fears. A twig snapped behind him and Elias spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. A figure emerged from the fog, tall and slender, their features obscured by the swirling mist. Fear tightened its grip on Elias's throat. He was no longer alone. Section 5. The Graveyard's Unease. The figure stepped closer, and Elias could make out the faint outline of a man. He was dressed in dark clothing, his face hidden in the shadows of a wide-brimmed hat. He moved with an unnerving grace, his footsteps completely silent on the fog-dampened ground. "Who are you?" Elias choked out, his voice barely a whisper. The figure tilted his head as if considering the question. "I could ask you the same," the man replied, his voice a low melodic purr that seemed to slither through the fog. What brings you to this place of shadows and sorrow? Elias hesitated, unsure how to answer. He couldn't very well tell this stranger about the whispers, about the name that had drawn him to this forgotten corner of the graveyard. He decided to dodge the question. I could ask you the same, he countered, trying to sound braver than he felt. The man chuckled, a low, humorless sound that sent shivers down Elias's spine. Curiosity killed the cat, he murmured, taking another step closer. Elias stood his ground, his pulse quickening. He didn't trust this man, not one bit. There was something about him, something cold and calculating that set Elias on edge. Section 6. A glimmer in the fog. I'm not afraid of you, Elias lied, hoping he sounded more confident than he felt. The man raised an eyebrow, his smile widening slightly. Oh, he purred. That's a shame. I was hoping for a bit of a chase. Elias took a step back, his hand instinctively reaching into his pocket for his phone. He fumbled with it, his fingers clumsy with fear. But the phone slipped from his grasp and clattered to the ground. The screen lit up for a brief moment, casting an eerie glow on the surrounding headstones before plunging them back into darkness. The man followed Elias's gaze to the fallen phone, his smile widening. No need for that, he said, his voice smooth as silk. No one comes to this part of the graveyard. You're quite safe here, with me. Elias didn't believe him for a second. He could sense the lie in his words, the veiled threat hidden beneath the surface. He needed to get out of there, and fast. Section 7. The Shadow of Truth. I need to go, Elias said, his voice trembling slightly. He took another step back, bumping into the cold, unforgiving surface of a headstone. He was trapped. The man chuckled again, the sound echoing through the fog like a tolling bell. Where's the hurry? He asked, taking another step closer. We were just getting acquainted. Elias's hand brushed against something cold and metallic as he pressed himself against the headstone. He glanced down and saw a rusty trowel lying on the ground, half hidden in the undergrowth. Hope flickered in his chest. What do you want? Elias asked, stalling for time as he slowly bent down to retrieve the trowel. He kept his movements slow and deliberate, trying not to alert the man to his intentions. The man tilted his head, studying Elias with an unsettling intensity. Why, to show you the truth, of course, he replied. The truth about this place, about the whispers you hear. Section 8. A choice to make. Elias's fingers closed around the trowel's handle. It wasn't much, but it was something. He straightened up, holding the trowel in front of him like a makeshift weapon. I think I've heard enough truth for one night, Elias said, his voice gaining a newfound strength. Let me pass. The man's smile faded, replaced by an expression of cold fury. You don't understand, he hissed. This place, it has a hold on you. You can't escape it. We'll see about that, Elias retorted, raising the trowel slightly. He knew it was a futile gesture, but he refused to be intimidated. The man took a step forward, his hand darting out with surprising speed. Elias flinched back, raising the trowel to defend himself, but the man's hand passed through the metal as if it were nothing but air. Terror surged through Elias as he realized the truth. This was no ordinary man. This was something else entirely, something not of this world. Section 9. The Graveyard's Grip. You can't hurt me, the man said, his voice a hollow whisper. Not anymore. But I can hurt you. I can make you suffer as I have suffered. He reached out again, his hand closing around Elias's throat. Elias gasped for air, his vision blurring at the edges. He tried to fight back, but the man's grip was like iron. Let him go, a voice boomed from the fog. Elias and his attacker turned towards the sound, their eyes struggling to pierce the dense mist. A figure emerged from the fog, walking with a confidence that Elias envied. It was a woman, tall and imposing, her face hidden in the shadows of a hooded cloak. She stopped a few feet away, her gaze fixed on the man holding Elias captive. You overstep your bounds, Shade, the woman said, her voice laced with quiet menace. This one is not yours to torment. Section 10. An Unsettling Truth. The man, Shade, chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. You presume much, witch, he sneered. This graveyard is my domain. These souls are mine to command. You are nothing but a parasite, the woman retorted, her voice hardening, feeding off the fear and sorrow of the departed. You have no power here. Shade tightened his grip on Elias's throat, cutting off his air supply. Elias gasped, his vision fading in and out of focus. He could feel his consciousness slipping away. "Leave him be, Shade," the woman warned, her voice dangerously low. "Or face the consequences." Shade hesitated, his grip on Elias loosening slightly. He glanced from the woman to Elias, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Then, with a final spiteful grin, he released Elias, sending him crashing to the ground. Elias lay there, gasping for breath, his throat raw and sore. He looked up to see Shade backing away, his form shimmering and distorting as he melted back into the fog.